In this episode of Align, we sit down with the brilliant Dr. Sarah Druckman to dive into the powerful world of hormones and how chiropractic care can support balance, healing, and function. If you've ever felt like your body is speaking a different language, this one's for you. We talk about the signs your hormones might be out of whack, how stress plays a massive role, and how chiropractic, especially nervous system focused care, plays a key role in helping the body recalibrate naturally. From puberty to perimenopause, fertility to fatigue, we're breaking it all down and reminding you, you're not crazy, you're not alone, and your body isn't broken. So welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Sarah. Dr. Sarah. Sarah, we're so excited. Thank you for being on our podcast.
Hello.
This is our very first video podcast. I just feel like everyone else should know that. I have known Dr. Sarah for almost 15 years because we graduated about 10 years ago, which is crazy. And I'd love for you to tell your story, Sarah, about how you got into chiropractic, because she didn't just start out being a chiropractor. She has a really diverse background. But I don't know if you remember this, Sarah, but one of the first conversations we had, we were talking about like food and we were chit-chatting. And you were, I think, dairy-free and gluten-free and a bunch of frees at the time. And I was like learning about it. And I was like, oh, I'd love to be dairy-free. And you were like, why? And I was like, I don't know. It just seems like everybody. But I was like, but I love cheese. And you were like, well, then eat cheese. And I was like, oh, what a concept. Because we were talking and I was like, no, it's not really bothering me. I feel pretty good. But so anyway, Sarah, you've always led such an interesting path, and you've used all of your past experience to grow your really beautiful practice in Alpharetta, Georgia, which is very close to where I went to chiropractic school. So tell us, I would love for Dr. Ariel and our staff, or everybody else, to learn, how'd you get into chiropractic? How'd we get here?
Well, thank you so much. First and foremost, this is super fun to be on here with you too. I do have a little bit of an interesting story. I definitely took the long road to get to where I am now. I'm going to make it as short as possible, but it is a little entertaining, I suppose. Truly, my journey to chiropractic care started with my own health struggles. As a kid, I was like covered in eczema and I had terrible allergies. And I'd like break out in hives literally from touching Parmesan cheese, like when I was a kid. I can eat it now, but physically touching it would give me hives. So I was a little bit of my immune system and my nervous system growing up was just like super overburdened. And I was going to be a biologist. I wanted to like work outside with animals and be a PhD, but I also was a total wild child. And there was no way when I was 17 years old that I was going to go to school for like a decade. Mind you, at this point, I have gone to school for a decade.
Just fast forward.
I could have done at 25 and said I was done at 35. But I actually ended up studying fashion design, and I had a clothing line, and I toured with a band and did all these super fun things. But I also started I was like really sick. Like my eczema was really bad and I was really bloated and puffy and just not healthy. I was like kind of living the rock and roll lifestyle. And I didn't feel purpose in that field. I was like really miserable, and I was like I'm very vain. I'm a Leo. I was covered in rashes. It was like, this sucks. So I went back to school. I did my pre-med. I wanted to do something that really supported a healthy lifestyle and helped others, because I really found in the fashion industry, it was meaningless to me. I didn't feel fulfilled. And, I looked at a variety of careers. I looked at becoming a veterinarian. I'm a huge horse person and an animal lover, acupuncture, DO, chiropractic. And the chiropractic really spoke to me the most. So that's when I went to Life University here in Georgia. I met Sarah. Coming into school, it's funny, I'm 44 almost. Kind of hard to say. It doesn't roll off the tongue that easy. In the throes of perimenopause, and which also sounds really crazy to say. And I don't identify as a 44-year-old, more of a 25 still. But Yeah, I've been gluten-free like 20 years. My dad was gluten-free probably 30 years. So like genetically, we do not do well with gluten. When I started chiropractic school, I had been like a raw vegan. I had done events with David Avocado Wolf and was like really involved in the whole raw vegan elixir superfood scene and world. I have loosened the reins on all that a bit as I've started running a business and healed my body too. Like I don't need that extreme lifestyle to thrive, which is awesome. So yes, dairy can be really bad. I just ran someone's labs for food sensitivities. Casein, whey, like all dairy was way off the charts. My own labs, I'm not. So now, I'm on that whole cottage cheese TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess cottage cheese flatbread. Yeah. It actually is really good.
I'm going to make some cottage cheese and I'm going to put some more cottage cheese on top of it and then another one. So yeah, that's a little bit about my journey. I run a practice here in Alpharetta. Trying to get to that $1 million mark. I'm almost there. Growing and building the practice. I'm also, really excited about the whole peptide world. I'm a animal chiropractor. I do work with horses and dogs, and I'm a functional medicine practitioner. So the more my practice goes, the more I'm kind of going back into functional medicine and the peptides, and that is my passion first and foremost. But the nervous system and chiropractic, all of that. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a life coach. It's like, how do we heal the body and allow it to get out of its own way, really allow it to function at 100% without us causing more distress to the body.
Yeah. And Dr. Sarah Balthaser and I always talk about, our bodies are so multidimensional, right? So they need a lot of different things, chiropractic, and we also need healthy living, and we need a healthy mindset. And it's not just one thing that always gets us where we need to go. It is always like a collaboration of a lot of things.
How do you tie in? Obviously, I know your background. We've kept in touch all these years, which is wild. But how do you tie in the functional med piece that you've always had your toe in the waters with chiropractic? Like, how does that work together? How does it support each other?
Yeah, so at one point, I kind of set it aside as far as like the labs and sitting down one-on-one with patients in regards to functional medicine, because I was, a solo practitioner at one point, running and growing this practice and in with patients all day, every day. And I'm a good chiropractor. I'm a good adjuster. I get good results. And people really want to see me for chiropractic. So it was really hard to also then have the time and mental space growing this practice from nothing to where it is now to also be a good functional medicine doctor and adjusting horses on top of it. So I kind of had to set it aside for a few years as things were growing. But even from a traditional functional medicine perspective, no matter what, I've always, like the table talk, I've got a huge wall of supplements. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm learning. I'm in the functional medicine mindset, even if I'm not running the lab. So I have had that in my pocket and in my practice, and I've offered that to patients no matter what. Now, as my practice has grown and I have more space to really practice functional medicine, I am running more and more labs on clients again. I have a partner, Dr. Thomas Culleton. So when I was a student at Life University, I was the rep for Apex Energetics. They're one of the leaders in functional medicine education in the nation. And Tom is has taught with that company for years and been in private practice with that company for years and years and years. So he has a company now, and we're partnered up where I offer to my patients functional blood chemistry labs. Also, we do the Dutch test, the hormone test. We can do nutrition evaluations, stool tests, cortisol tests. So I am offering lab work now again for my clients. I also have really good partnerships. Like I don't do HRT, but I have a doctor nearby that I work with for that. So if I get the labs back and they really need HRT, I'll send them to another practitioner to do so. But from a functional standpoint and as a chiropractor, I offer all that I can offer for my clients in-house.
So you had mentioned peptides, and this is a conversation we've been having as I've been going through the perimenopausal, stage of life and entering that and figuring out my body and my hormones, and things have changed over time. But you mentioned peptides, and that's a very hot topic right now. But I don't think people understand it, and probably I don't even understand it that much as I could. So tell us, what are peptides?
So peptides are a short chain amino acid. They're literally the building blocks of proteins. And within our body, we have, however many different peptides and proteins. And when you take a peptide, you're literally filling in that code to the cell to support the function that it needs. So on a physiological level, we're literally giving our body short chain amino acids to build new proteins to help turn on, DNA and activate the cells in a way that they need to thrive.
How do they become so popular now? Like, what do you think caught on that now people are
because they freaking are amazing and they work.
That's a good. Tell me, I would like to know.
I think the biggest thing is the GLP-1s, right? So
that's a big buzzword right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when they opened up semaglutide and Mounjaro, and the FDA came out and opened up some of these weight loss and diabetic peptides, that really caught on because everyone wants to be skinny, and they were able to lose weight and make these changes in their bodies. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things. But also you've got like the BPC 157, TB 500, NAD plus. I mean, they really truly, I believe, are the future of medicine and health and longevity, which is why I'm so excited and passionate about it right now. So, a lot of the big, like Andrew Huberman, a lot of the big Jay Campbell, a lot of the big names in health are using peptides and toting their benefits. And so I believe that's why they've reached their peak. They haven't even reached their peak. They're starting to gain momentum and be really well known. And especially like within the biohacking community, the longevity community, everyone who's out there optimizing their health, it's this like magic little tool that we can plug in now to get to the next level.
So Dr. Sarah, you kind of said a couple the buzzwords that we hear in social media right now, like, GLP-1, like all of these things. And, they have turned into very, very much the medical side of it, right? So maybe more synthetic. There's maybe some things in there that aren't great for our bodies. Are there healthy alternative peptides to help people with weight loss, with the things that they're trying to achieve that maybe won't be as detrimental on the body?
Yeah, so what I see with the GLP-1s on the medical side that are actually like prescription and labeled is that they add on extra molecules so they can patent it and make money and, protect their brand and make it a drug. And when they do that, it can tend to have more side effects. Also, a lot of people aren't educated from a functional medicine model to the point where they can support their clients in actually healing and utilizing these substances in a way that is beneficial. So you hear like about microdosing GLP-1s.
Yeah.
The amount that you would take in a microdose is much less the amount that you would take in a medical dose potentially. And it's a lot of times when you get up those higher doses that you experience some of the side effects and symptoms, but also those patients are typically sick. Like if they've been prescribed a GLP-1 through insurance because they're diabetic and because they're obese, they already have comorbidities and they're not in a healthy state and they're taking this high dose. And if you're not supporting the body with what it needs at a cellular level, because it all comes back down to cellular health, like you're literally giving the body this potent tool that it needs. But if your cells aren't healthy, then, it's a very expensive, you're throwing something very expensive into a broken system. Yeah. So that's where I work with clients to really make sure that we're supporting them on a cellular level and on a functional level to optimize the benefits, because it all comes back down to cellular health.
And then why are they, I'm sure you know this, but why do they work? So typically, I'm sorry, I'm like kind of trying to figure out how I want to say it, but typically they're injection. So just wondering, like, because you can get like an NAD plus capsule,
supplement.
but we've been talking about injections. And do they work more? Are they reaching the cell more potently, more proactively in injection?
So with an injection, you're bypassing the gut, and the gut breaks down a lot of substances when it goes through the process in the intestines and the stomach. You got the stomach acids, you got the intestines. You know, it's even like taking a supplement. When you take a supplement, like you can take a probiotic. Some probiotics are far superior than others because of the way they've been encapsulated and the protective mechanisms that they've put into that probiotic. So that way it actually gets into the gut and can do its job. So you can get a trash probiotic and you can get a high-level probiotic, right? And so like for the consumer, a lot of times they have no idea. This space is the Wild West a little bit. It's wide open. And if they aren't work, you can go buy something off the internet and have no idea what you're getting. Like the company that I'm working with, everything is made here in America. It's third party tested. It's 99.6% purity. And people are like, why is it so expensive? And I'm like, because it's not from China. I'm sorry, right? Like it's like buying medical grade. As a provider, we get exclusive supplements and products for doctors only. And you have to have a license in order to order these products. Whereas someone might go on Amazon, and there's a lot of talk about Amazon and how literally there's like fraud supplement companies out there that are like relabeling supplements and selling trash. So someone's like, oh, I'm going to go price shop and get on Amazon. It's cheaper. And you like literally don't even know what you're getting.
Yeah. It's a surprise.
It is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The quality.
Yeah.
So,
something that you really do talk about quite frequently on your social media page, and we'll link your social media and Burn Out to Bliss, all that stuff. But Dr. Sarah also has a program, Burn Out to Bliss, and she talks a lot, especially to women who are running businesses and caring for other people about the high stress. And I was just having this conversation with a friend yesterday. It's like, you can't take a pill to decrease your stress, right? Like there's always going to be
fight for that though.
Well, let's get it. Yeah. Which one? Yes, send it to us, Sarah. But you talk a lot about nervous system regulation in all of your social media, and you do a beautiful job at talking about it and how you went from like really frazzled, if I could just paraphrase, like frazzled, overwhelmed, all over the place, to recentering. So I think when you think about, hormonal changes, weight loss, this is something obviously I've been dealing with for a long time, but like it's what you brought up, the gut, which is huge and such a pain to fix, honestly. Sometimes it takes a lot of time. Gut, nervous system regulation, and then the cell, because you're right, the cell is really what makes up literally everything else in our body. Mm-hmm. Which is so interesting. But if you had to pick one thing to start for, let's say, a woman like me, not like you, you're too young, but, kind of about to get into perimenopause, maybe they're a working parent, or they're, it's the hustle and bustle. I can't even think of anyone who's not really that stressed, even if they have kids or no kids, it doesn't really matter. Working, social media comparison, all that stuff. What would be the first thing you would suggest to someone?
I would say learning some sort of breath work, because it's free. Yeah. It's free and it's within you, and you need nothing but your own self in order to do breath work, and you can tap into it at any given time. So say you're like on the verge of screaming, like you're stressed to the max, your life, your job, your husband, your kids, whatever. You are like super dysregulated and just don't even know how, you have no peace in your life. Your breath is always there. You can literally shut the door and breathe, and it regulates your nervous system. It regulates your heart. It puts you in a parasympathetic state. It's going to bring down your cortisol. It's going to take you out of that flight or fight. So I think it's the number one tool that you can access at any given time to regulate your nervous system.
That's awesome. As I think we're sitting here together.
I know, I'm like diaphragmatic breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing. Like I'm thinking about it.
Most people don't know how to breathe at all. Yeah. They have like literally no idea.
Yeah.
I literally have patients come into my office every single day and they're like, I hold all my stress in my neck and in my traps. I don't know what it is. I just hold, everyone says it. And you know, you guys are doctors, you know, you've heard it. Everyone says, I hold everything up here. Well, those are your accessory muscles of breathing, right? Your scalenes, your traps, everything up here is, people aren't breathing from their belly. They aren't breathing from their diaphragm. They're literally using not their main muscles for breathing, but their accessory muscles for breathing. And then they've got neck pain and pain down their arm and this big old knot in their traps because they're not breathing. So
and that's one thing too, you know, when I reflect back on chiropractic school, I don't really remember having a lot of conversations about breathing. Really. We talked about like, I don't remember ever having those. And it took me until actually we have a pelvic floor therapist in our office, and it started me taking pelvic floor on my own to understand, wow, I don't know how to breathe. Like, I don't know, you know, when you see little kids come in the office and they all breathe great. They have like little abs, like they're breathing perfectly, you know, and they're like 6. Like, where in our life do we lose that ability? Because we're born innately knowing how to breathe, and then we lose it. And then we don't talk about it.
It's that sympathetic dominance that a lot of us spend our time in, that when we're sympathetic, we automatically go to those accessory muscles, and we aren't aware of the fact that we actually need to tap into and train our parasympathetic nervous system. Also the vagus nerve. You know, I love talking about the vagus nerve because you can literally activate your you can tone your vagus nerve. You can make it stronger. It's like, what other nerve in your body and in your nervous system can you regulate on your own and make stronger on your own? And one of the ways you can tone the vagus nerve is also through breathing and through breath work. So I just think as we age and our society, we are chronically and constantly in fight or flight and in a stressful domain. And, you know, personally, I had to go back and learn and teach myself and teach my body how to be in more of a parasympathetic state. Am I still a crazy ass bitch? Yes. Okay. Everyone thinks I'm like, people do not like me. Sometimes they want me to be like Mother Teresa 24/7. And, you know, I'm a 44-year-old perimenopausal woman. I was born in the 80s. I'm from Detroit. Okay. Like,
you're gonna get where you're from.
That's I am not gonna
coming from you from Detroit.
And you know what? And there's a time and a place. Like, to all you high achievers out there, we cannot operate in parasympathetic 24/7. We cannot, and nor should we.
Yeah, and I'm sure as a chiropractor, that's what we tell our patients too. Like, we need fight or flight. You know, we often think like, oh, we should never be in it. It's like, no, we need it to accomplish things.
We have to have it.
But it's when we're constantly living in it. That's when that.
Well, and trust me, it caught up with me, right? Like 100%, which is why I created Burnout to Bliss and why I'm so passionate about this work. 2020, I expanded my business. I was in a toxic relationship. I was 40 at some point. I turned 40. I don't know what year it was, maybe 2021. 2021, I turned 40, and I was so stressed out, and I literally just thought it was stress, and I was like, oh, it's just stress. And then I ran my labs, and my hormones it was everything, right? It was everything. And I had to go back to that functional medicine approach on myself and say, okay, what are we doing here? Right. And I did my own stuff. I worked with other practitioners, but I really worked on my hormones. I worked on my gut. I did a parasite cleanse. I was in a life coaching program. You know, I kept layering, you know, in healing and in health, they talk about like layers to an onion. And it was kind of like building back up some healthy layers and one thing at a time. And each thing that I added back in and really worked on took me to, I improved my health from one level to the next level to the next level to get to where I am now. And I can honestly say I feel healthier now in like my mind, body, spirit, across the board. I feel better than I ever have in my life, truly. So
that's awesome.
And, talking about society in general, everyone is always looking for this quick fix, this
or to
magic
feel good,
or to always feel good. And it sounds like you've gone through a long journey. I'm sure that's a conversation that you have with your patients about, hey, this is not a quick fix. When you're working with a patient, what's a realistic timeline for them to kind of get through this healing?
I mean, I think realistically, they need a good 6 months.
Yeah.
It takes 90 days. There's different numbers and different facts out there, but, they say it takes 30 to 90 days to create a habit. And your health is a habit. It's a healthy habit. So you're just starting to create a new habit at 30 to 90 days. I say if you really want to see big progress, you've got to give it at least 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important for our listeners to know that, because I'm sure you see in the office too, people come in, it's like, oh, I've been doing this for 2 weeks and I don't feel better.
Yeah.
It's like, right, you're not going to feel better in 2 weeks. Not even just chiropractic care, but that relates to a lot of things. Same thing with, my big thing, and I was always drinking water, because people don't seem to ever drink water.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I drank water 3 days ago.
Yeah.
You have to do it every day.
Need it again. I know. And I think it can be so challenging when you're, especially like on the uphill battle of perimenopause, when your hormones are kind of fighting you, and you're like your kids are getting, this is my example, I'm just talking about myself, like your kids are getting a little bit older, so like you could you have a little bit more flexibility, they can stay home for a little bit while I go for a walk, but it's so discouraging when you're not seeing the forward motion, which is why I think it's so important to work with someone who does do some functional med type stuff. Because I was just having this conversation yesterday, it was like, well, and you're saying it too, Jameer, what you're saying is we're doing all of these things, but if the system and the cell is broken, you aren't really going to see the results that you want. And then it's so discouraging, and we're just restarting instead of looking at maybe a different aspect, or maybe adding in something, or that breath work. And, that's such a good reminder. It's like, hey, if we're healing and it's not feeling good, or it's taking a little bit longer, let's just take a little step back, take a deep breath, and just focus on positive, but also maybe think about other aspects of support. Yeah, sure.
I think that's like the GLP-1s. Initially, I didn't know anything about it when they first came out, really. I wasn't really paying any attention to them, right? I just knew people who were taking them to get skinny, but they still weren't, they were smoking. Like these are examples. They got skinny, but they were drinking and smoking and didn't really change any of their lifestyle habits. So to me, that's kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
Not to be judgy, but it was like, I don't want any part of that. Right. And then, as more and more patients would come in, and these are patients in the chiropractic space that have back pain, and they couldn't work. They had a hard time working out because their back hurt or their knees hurt, and they had extra weight on them. So, you can tell someone to go work out to lose weight and it's going to help everything. But if their body's so stuck and broken at that point, it can be really challenging for them. So, I have empathy and compassion for that as a practitioner. And if these peptides help them to get to where they need to be, and then they can work out and they feel better, and if something finally moves the needle where someone's been totally stuck, that in itself is worth its weight in gold. As long as they understand that they have to continue to make healthy changes in order to maintain these results and truly live a healthy, vibrant life. And I'm like, it really changed my perspective on it. And now I'm such a big fan. So,
yeah. And I do think too, like coming from, since we're all chiropractors and we all went to Life, Dr. Ariel went to Life also, is like when you're at Life and you're in this chiropractic, we call it a chiropractic island, because you're in this bubble of like, this way, but what the ideals and the perspective of that chiropractic bubble is not the reality or really representation of our normal patient base, right? And we have to like kind of change our expectations. Like you're right, whatever moves the needle in a positive direction, as long as it's in a healthy, healthy way,
Yeah. Like I remember in chiropractic school, everyone's on a juice cleanse. Everyone's on Whole30. Everyone's working out 3 times a day, and we're drinking, they're carrying around their giant 2-gallon thing, glass container. Some kids brought their exercise ball to sit on. It was a really great bubble to be in because you're around other people being healthy and motivating. But then when you get into practice, it is really difficult because you realize that that's just not unfortunately, that's not the way the society works. So we have to kind of spearhead that.
It kind of skews your vision.
Even for us as providers, I mean, I fell a little bit victim to that as a provider and as a business owner. And when I got so burnt out, I know all the things. I've done all the things. I was a freaking raw vegan at one point. Like I know all the things, but just the stress and just the level I was going at and building my business and running my business, it wasn't sustainable. And that's very common. A lot of not just chiropractors, veterinarians, doctor, and all of the caregivers out there, there's something called compassion fatigue, right? Like you are listening all day, every day to everyone's problem they come in talking about their pain. I mean, that's, you got to learn how to hear your client but also not carry their energy and transmute that energy because it can be exhausting. And if you aren't healthy yourself in mind, body, spirit, it's running a business, being a practitioner within a business, it's a lot to carry. And I think when I hit my peak of burnout, I was like, man, I've got a lot of life left in me and in this business, and I've got to really come back to myself in order to carry more for others.
Yeah. You've like changed perspectives and taken the years of experience you have and built multiple businesses, multiple beautiful businesses, which is awesome. So before we wrap up, I thought you have why don't you ask your, I was going to ask a couple questions to you.
I was like, I have a couple of questions. My first question is that, so Dr. Sarah, you said you kind of transition, you still see obviously chiropractic patients, but you work a lot with the functional medicine. Our listeners are obviously here in Pennsylvania and Berks County, and you're obviously in Alpharetta, Georgia. Do you take on patients that are not in Georgia?
Yeah, I have virtual services as well. My Burnout to Bliss program is evergreen now, so you can do that at your own pace. I'm about to launch. I've been saying I'm launching something very soon called.
We will be your accountability buddies.
Thank you. Called the Somatic Glow Up. So I'm working on that.
Oh, I love that.
And I do virtual work as well. So absolutely, I'm available for that. I'm bringing on a health coach in my practice. She just started, so I'm super excited about that. She's so cool. She's like a Pilates instructor and a health coach with the Institute for Integrated Medicine. So really excited about that. She'll be able to help me really handle all these patients and the client experience. So that's exciting. But yeah, I do virtual work.
Yeah, and we'll be including, for the listeners, we'll be including Dr. Sarah's information with this podcast. So a link to her website, a link to her social media. So if you have any more questions, I'm sure she'd love to answer that. I have one more question that I think is really important is that what's one thing that you wish every woman knew about her body?
Oh, that's
wow.
I was like,
that's a hard one.
I know. I was like, I should have prepped her with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm really interested in right now? And I think I just like to say the word vagina, but I'm really into the vaginal microbiome. And
we haven't even, I know that's the surface on it.
I've actually run a couple microbiome tests on myself, and it's something I'm going to implement soon. But I think the vaginal microbiome is not talked about at all, and it's incredibly important. It can be related to infertility, miscarriages, chronic UTIs. The microbiome is super important and sexy, and there's a lot of ways to support it, and women aren't testing it, and they have a zero awareness of it. So
yeah,
I really think the only thought I have thought about that, if I'm being honest, is outside of UTI type of that, all that type of stuff, is when we talked about birth.
Yeah, that's what I always think of. Yeah.
And passing through the vaginal canal, being born vaginally, and kind
Creating
of
a baby's microbiome.
yeah, starting a microbiome. So yeah, it's so important. And you're right. What?
Like, we don't talk about it after that. Like, it definitely matters more than
so
mind blown.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you for
There's
that.
a really cool company out there, and I've just started working with them, and they offer microbiome tests, and it's something I want to dive into deeper in the future. They're called Microbiome Labs, and they're a probiotic company, but they also offer testing. They're very cool. So that may be something for your viewers and you as practitioners to look into.
Cool. Interesting. My question was going to be, what's your favorite peptide? If you could pick one. Or maybe your starter. What would somebody start? What would be a good starter?
Yeah. It's funny. I was on a webinar last night, and they were talking about starter peptides because you kind of want to feel it, right? Obviously, you want to feel it. I started personally with NAD plus and the BPC 157 TB 500. So BPC 157 TB 500, it helps with tissue repair and regeneration, and also the gut. So I love that because you're going to have, I did experience on it immediately less aches and pains, and my recovery was quicker. I'm very physical. I'm showing and riding my horse. I'm adjusting people. So I'm 44, so I definitely have a couple little things in my body going on. So that I think is a great peptide to start with. Also, the NAD plus is anti-aging. It helps with brain fog, energy. We all want more energy. And something I'm on currently that I'm super excited about, it's called MOTS-C. It helps to heal your mitochondria. And all autoimmune is related to the mitochondria. We all need more energy. All our cells need healthier, better mitochondria. So I'm over here like doing all the mitochondrial support right now.
Cool. I love that. And also, can I clarify, these men can take this, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, 110%.
No, women, but men take these as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. My boyfriend, I've created a monster. His fridge is like literally, I've got my fridge is full of them, and now his fridge is full of them. And he's like, we have to have, I order more. I have to have everything here. And in the morning, at morning and night, we're like dosing each other up. It's really fun.
Bend over, honey.
I do. Okay. I lied about not having any more questions. I have one more question.
Okay, great.
Okay. What's a myth about hormones that drives you crazy?
Oh, Lord.
Or peptides or anything that you do. Like, what's a myth that you oftentimes hear in your office? And because my biggest pet peeve is when it's water, honestly. Like, every time someone comes in, I'm like, we need to drink water. But so what's something that's a big myth for you?
I feel like we need to drink water with salt in it and or electrolytes.
Yeah.
I know we all need water, but like if you're not actually absorbing that water, it's kind of useless.
No.
So I think we need to supercharge our water. Hormones. I don't even know. I guess I hear from a lot of women that their doctor says their hormones are fine and they don't need HRT. And I'm like, okay, but you have no testosterone and you feel like shit. So why are we?
Yeah, I love that.
I feel like we need to optimize our hormones. And I feel like a lot of women are discouraged by doctors to optimize them. And I feel like that's, you need to find another provider. If you're having symptoms and your hormones are not in the best ranges possible and your doctor doesn't want to help you with your hormones, you need a provider who thinks differently and can support you.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that too.
I love that.
Yeah.
Those are great things. So, Dr. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. We've talked about a whole range of things. I love it. We talked about chiropractic. We talked about some new buzzwords with GLP, which is not new, but it's kind of new to our world. Yeah. Peptides, hormones, and just the ways to de-stress, right? Get out of that sympathetic state. And you provide a lot of those great resources. So we're so excited to include those. We always say if people have questions to reach out to us. I'm sure you feel the same way. If people listen to this and they have questions, I'm sure you'd love to answer anything.
And don't forget to rate our podcast and follow us so we can keep up with keeping our podcast ad-free and keep it growing.
Yeah. Bring more people on.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks.